Okay, I know this isn't the usual format I do these videos, but I just thought that this was one I had to go over with you. So if you were reading an article put out by PETA, P-E-T-A, which is an animal rights organization that pretty much everyone has heard of, you would be like, okay, there's going to be like an animal rights slant in here. I know they're notorious for making things up about animals to try to, push their agenda. And you would just be ready for that. But I didn't know that People magazine was basically an animal rights blog, or at least is now. I had no idea that they publish entirely false stories and don't do any fact checking. It's one thing to get a couple of facts wrong or just slant things a little bit, but to publish complete slander of something that never happened is just so crazy to me. So I'm actually going to go through pretty much this whole article with you and just point out how many lies are here, just so you realize how little you can trust on the internet when it comes to New York City carriage horses. So the first thing here we have is New York City horse-drawn carriage crash sparks renewed calls for a ban as 2 operators are hospitalized. Now, these calls are not renewed. It's the same exact group, New York Class and PETA and all of them, that have been asking me for this for years. It's not happening. This is not a renewed thing. This is the same old BS we keep hearing about. And you'll see here it says crash. There was no crash. A carriage crash did not happen. It says 2 operators are hospitalized. No, 2 operators were not hospitalized. 1 was. So it says the incident which occurred. Okay, they got the date right. Yeah, they got the date right. Let's go to the next section here. Okay, need to know. 2 horse-drawn carriages collided in Central Park. Did not happen. 2 horse carriages did not collide. Completely made up. Hospitalizing both drivers did not happen. 1 driver was injured while trying to catch his horse, who had gotten the bridle off and therefore was running from the carriage following him. And reigniting calls to ban the industry. We already said that. Though the horses weren't seriously hurt, the horses actually weren't hurt at all. Not seriously hurt, weren't hurt at all. Advocacy groups like NYC Carriage are citing the crash. Again, no crash happened, as proof that the practice is unsafe and outdated. Of course, they would say that because the industry is actually very safe and outdated. I mean, art is outdated. I mean, we don't just get rid of art because it's old-fashioned. It's just so ridiculous. But anyway, the crash, that didn't happen, no crash, follows a 2022 incident where a horse named Ryder collapsed in the street and later died. So this horse incident they're speaking about, I have mentioned, I won't go into depth about too much because there's an ongoing court case regarding it, but I will say that they're saying later died. The horse was actually euthanized a few months after this incident, after he was retired, when equine vets discovered that he had cancer. That's what he was put down for. It is not true that this is related to this incident at all. Prompting celebrity-backed petition to end carriage rides and all that. Okay. A horse-drawn carriage collision is resurrecting a call to ban the transportation in New York City. Again, this is not resurrected, and no collision happened. On Monday, they have the date right. 2 horse-drawn carriages rammed into each other. Did not happen. Neither carriage came close to the other one. Neither horse was close to the other one. This is entirely false. In front of the 60th Street East Drive marker in Central Park. Yeah, they got their approximate location, right? Hospitalizing 2 of the carriage operators. No, again, 1 carriage driver. According to a statement obtained by people from the New York Police Department, 1 of the horses was startled and ran westbound towards 5th Avenue. No, I was there. The horse just kind of turned around and he was actually headed towards the north end of the park. The part's not exactly correct. The second horse was also startled and ran towards the northbound end of 60th Street. That's not too inaccurate. Both carriage operators sustained minor injuries in an attempt to regain control of the horse. Per the statement, it was actually one carriage operator. Once again, EMS transported both individuals to area hospitals. Only one driver went to the hospital, and he did not go with EMS. He actually went in a pedicab, which is very strange. There are no reports on whether there were passengers in the carriages at the time of the incident. There were no passengers. The horses were in their stands, which, if the city had listened to our pleas for hitching posts, never would have happened because we would have had places to tie the horses to. And this has been an ongoing request for so many years that animal rights extremist groups have actually been opposed to because they were hoping for something like this to happen to try to get the public on their side against the carriages. They have no substantial evidence that there's anything wrong in the industry, and that's what their hope is. And if people felt like, People Magazine here felt like reaching out to absolutely anyone, they could have found out there were no passengers in the carriage. According to ABC News, the horses did not suffer any severe injuries, not severe, any injuries, and were back to work on the south end of Central Park later that evening. That is incorrect. The horses were seen by a veterinarian first, because that is protocol, and then they went back to work some days later. Though many city visitors enjoy horse-drawn carriage rides, animal advocacy groups such as Night Class are saying this incident support a citywide ban, horse-drawn carriage rides, nothing new. Speaker Adams, Mayor Adams, TWU, blah, 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 waiting for New Yorkers to be killed before. All right, no human being has ever been killed in the New York City horse carriage industry, so you're waiting for something that's never happened before. Asking to shut down these unsafe carriages, past week alone, injuries, have resulted in injuries and near fatalities. That again is just incorrect. It was a minor injury to a driver's wrist, and that is not near fatal. Horses are naturally skittish animals that can easily be frightened. I've gone into this in other videos. I'm not going to get too in depth, but horses are highly adaptable. They learn what they should be afraid of and what they should not be afraid of, and this kind of thing is extremely rare. Allowing horse-drawn carriages to continue operating in Midtown is malpractice, putting everyone at risk. Yeah, it's the safest mode of transportation in New York City. This bill would not only end an abusive and reckless industry. The horses that are cared for and treated very well under safe practices. Currently facing Manhattan, blah, blah. So here they say that this aligns with the wishes of the majority polled of New Yorkers, 71%. So what they actually did was an animal rights group, Voters for Animal Rights, polled 500, or is it 501? Sorry, I don't remember the exact number. About 500 of their followers, animal rights followers, and asked just 500 people in a city out of 8 million that happened to follow this animal rights group how they felt about banning horse carriages. And just saying polled New Yorkers, that is not accurate. It's not 71% who want it banned. In fact, when there were official Quinnipiac polls taken for an entire year straight, although it was a few years ago now, we don't really have any accurate official polls, but all official polls have always shown New Yorkers are strongly opposed to banning horse carriages. So this is just inaccurate. This law includes provision to place the horses in loving sanctuary homes where they can live freely and freely act with other horses. So that is completely untrue. It actually just says that the horses won't be permitted to work ever again, which is actually going against good care of a horse and making them invaluable, making them unable to earn enough income for their care, which is very expensive, which is really dangerous because that means that you have to find some outside work where you're not interacting with these horses to earn enough income to pay for them. And a lot of the time, that's going to end up with a horse, not having a good ending. And there are no homes lined up for the horses. The bill does not have anything about that in there. That is just entirely false. The horses will actually just be taken from their owners, taking the carriage owner's private property from them, which is going to be a huge legal battle if this bill ever, saw a hearing even. So that is not true in here. But that was a statement made by Adita Berkrant, who's the executive director of Night Class. The Animal Legal Defense Fund and animal rights organization aims to get stronger cruelty laws. They're asking for the end of horses in tourism work. Again, so dangerous to the future of horses in society. Again, it's so expensive to care for horses. You've got to have horses working to earn enough money to care for them, or this is just dangerous. That's going to lead to so many horses that just people cannot afford to care for them, and ultimately, in the long run, would actually lead to their extinction. In 2022, the organization petitioned to ban carriages after an elderly horse named Ryder collapsed in the street due to an overwhelming summer heat. That is entirely false. There was no heat suspension issued that day, no humidity suspension issued. The horse didn't even work his pole shift. The horse, that is not what happened with that horse. But again, I cannot go into too much with the rider situation, but that is just false. A video of the incident circulated, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Traffic outcomes for horses haunt city's history. Horses, pedestrians, cyclists are put at risk. Yeah, again, this isn't true. Along with hundreds of others, a petition. Some celebrities that have never worked with horses and don't know anything about them have signed on to something they've been uninformed about. One that I'm very sad about is Marissa Tomei. I used to like her as an actress, and she's off my list because I just can't respect someone that, jumps onto something without learning the facts. Just 2 months after his collapse, Ryder died. See, again, that's very misleading. This horse was first retired, was on a great retirement farm for a few months, was seen by top equine veterinarians, determined to have cancer that was untreatable, and he was not going to survive this, and he was humanely euthanized. He was roughly 30 years old. Again, this is false. He was 26, which was unknown at the time of purchase of the horse. We are devastated to learn that Ryder's died, horrific collapse, abuse. They say after years of abuse, the horse was only in the industry a few months. This was a new sale. This was a very new horse brought into the industry who had not been in it very long. Inspired people across the globe to stand up against the industry, blah, blah, blah. But make no mistake, this was not caused by an act of God. Yes, it actually was. It's caused by cruelty and greed. Again, this is not high-paying work. Almost all our money goes to caring for our horses. They're saying to make a profit, the industry would have worked. No, you need a healthy, happy young horse or, average age horse to do good work. It is not profitable to get an older horse in the business. No one would do that knowingly. People exposed, lies, covered, mistreatment has led to his death. Nope, that's just entirely false. Okay, so we finished this article. Sorry that was so long. I had to read along with you, but I really just wanted you guys to know that, there can be complete BS on the internet. Things that, have not 1 ounce of truth to it. And you might be basing your opinion about this industry off that. And you got to stop that. You got to research everything. You got to look up who wrote these things. You got to look up their history. You got to speak to the people who were actually there at these incidents. You got to listen to the equine veterinarians. You got to listen to the horse experts, professionals in the business for many years, to the horse carriage drivers who care for these horses every day. You've got to stop just listening to propaganda on the internet and not even realizing it's propaganda and it's not true.